All right, so today we're going to be going over the unit circle, okay? Now, by definition, what the unit circle is, it's just a circle with a radius of 1. That's what the word unit means. It means 1. Just think uno, unit. So it's a circle with a radius of 1. And then the equation for this circle, if you want an equation for it, is x squared plus y squared is equal to 1. Now, you guys just did an activity before in which you had to graph this. And hopefully you saw that you actually made a circle from graphing this. And also in that activity you would define the domain and range. And the domain and range, as you can see, you won't go any more to the left on the coordinate plane. It won't be any more negative than -1. So it has to be -1 is less than or equal to x, and x also has to be less than or equal to 1. It can't go over here anymore. So it can't go to the left past -1, and it can't go to the right past 1. It could be equal to 1 and -1, but it can't go further this way. Right? So that's our domain. The range, it can't go higher than 1, so it's got to be y is less than or equal to 1. And it can't go lower than -1, so it's y is greater than or equal to -1. So these are the domain and range. Hopefully you understood that in the last activity. Okay, so that's our unit circle. Now what we're going to use the unit circle for is defining our trig functions, which I kind of wrote right here. And this might be confusing if you look at it right now, but we're going to explain it right now using our unit circle. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is trig involves triangles. So people think, triangles? Why do we have a unit circle to describe triangles? Let me show you why. Okay, so we're just going to make an arbitrary point somewhere on this unit circle. Now the reason why we make it on the unit circle is because it always simplifies for what, well, since the radius is always 1, we know the hypotenuse for the triangle that we're going to make is always 1. It simplifies our life. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to make a point right here. I'm just choosing there. You could have chose anywhere on this circle. And I'm going to label this point x, y. Okay? We don't need to know the coordinates. Doesn't matter right now anyway. Okay? And I'm going to put a line that goes to the origin. And I'm going to find this angle as theta. Kind of similar to the last video about radians and degrees. So here's theta, the measurement of this angle right here. And xy describes that point. Okay? Now, this right here, we know that this length right here is going to be equal to 1 because anywhere from the center of the circle to the circle that has a radius of 1 is going to be 1. So I'm just going to put a little 1 here. Okay? Now from there, this is where we define our first function, which is sine. Y is equal to sine theta. Now, y is up here, but the measurement of y is basically just going to be from this y equals 0 line right here, y equals 0, all the way up to where that point is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line that's going to represent y. Okay? It's going to represent the height of this triangle. I almost formed a triangle right here. The height right here from the x-axis, from the y equals 0 line, all the way up to y is going to be, I'm just going to label it in red as y. And I'm going to make this 90-degree angle just so we know it's perpendicular to the x-axis, so it's going to be 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to put a little box around here. And what basically sine is a function that relates this theta measurement with whatever this y measurement is. Okay? So for our unit circle, our definition is y equals sine theta. It puts these two values together. So if you knew theta, you'd be able to figure out y. Okay? That's what sine is. Now, the x, this value right here, is going to represent our x value. Make it a little neater. X is how this is related to theta is called cosine. So sine was the y. The x is going to be cosine. Okay? And if you notice, we formed a little triangle here, and that involves how we got to, trig. The tri and trig is based on this triangle right here. The x is considered the cosine, the y, the height, going up and down, is sine. Now you can take these two functions, and if you divide them by each other, if you do the y over x, you get what's called tangent. Okay? That's our third trig function that we're going to go over. And it's really important to know that you can't actually have x equal to 0. Here, if x was equal to 0, cosine theta would be 0. You can't divide by 0. That wouldn't make any sense. Now if you think about x being equal to 0, well, x is equal to 0 on this line right here. Okay? So if you set x equal to 0, it would be right up here. at 0, 1. And if you notice, or it could be like a 0, negative 1 as well, it would just be a line. So it wouldn't be a triangle. So it makes sense that there's no angle measurement for that. Okay, so x can't be equal to 0 because you can't divide by 0. Now, what I did over here is it said it's about sine theta over cosine theta. That's because y is equal to sine theta, x is equal to cosine theta. So I just kind of substituted them in. We're going to go over that trig property a little bit later. So that is how you use the unit circle to define the basic trig functions, okay? We're going to do more on this later. If you have any questions, let me know.